What's happening, YouTube? It's your homie S. Akuma coming back at you with another video. Today, this pits my round 3 match at Talk Deck Games, the case tournament that we had back on April 20th. And this match looks like I am playing a Sentinel mirror match. This is my Sentinel version versus Mark Keeney of Vector Sigma's version. And yeah, this is my first mirror match since I've played Sentinels at the beginning of this beginning of wave 2. So looks like we rolled a dice here. He rolls an 8. I think I roll a little higher and I decide to go first, and that's exactly what happens. So in this match, generally, we're stealing each other's hand a lot. So Sunstreaker, ideally, you're gonna reuse Sunstreaker a lot in this matchup, like in versus other combiner matchup. And yeah, combiner matchups like aerial bots or Predacons or whatever, you'll probably flip Mirage a lot, reflip Mirage a lot more often. So here I start with Mirage flip to try and limit his options on his first turn, being as he can only activate 1 action or 1 upgrade. So he has Treasure Hunt, One Shall Stand, and Peace to Tyranny. I decided to take the Treasure Hunt, although even when he activates the Treasure Hunt, he can't use an upgrade that turn, but just to limit him having multiple options. So I attack for a weak attack here, just 2 One Shall Stand. So I only hit for 4, but I get a solid 3 damage on Prowl. Prowl being the obvious target, being that he is the weaker of the 3 Sentinels. Well, the weaker of the 3 in terms of being attacked, but he is actually the strongest attacker, which is another reason why to attack him. He has the most attack out of any of the Sentinels, and he has bold 1. Putting a weapon on him, he's very dangerous. So yeah, again, here in this matchup, we are definitely making use of Mirage and Espionage like we do in any other match, but we're doing it to each other. So we're both limiting each other's options, on every turn as best we can. So I have 1 action in my hand. He takes my incoming transmission, and he sees this play right here is interesting. I don't think it happens here. Maybe it does. I'll say it when it comes up. But so Confidence discards 1 Shall Stand and Peace Through Tyranny. And for his second action, oh, okay, so he draws 2 and he doesn't even play another action. That's an interesting play. Okay, so his Optimus, he leads as well and attacks my Optimus. Puts 3 damage on it. I don't decide to get press the advantage back. It's kind of weird that he activated an action to discard, to Confidence lets you play another action if you control all Autobots, if you started the game, with all Autobots. And I thought he was going to play another action there, so I guess he's just setting up for next turn, I'm going to assume. Okay, so I Sunstreaker, draw a card, and I put Static Laser on Ironhide. Very powerful because he does not take the drawback, of course, because it's his gun, his weapon. And I try to put a decent amount of damage on Ironhide, or on his Optimus, which I do. Looks like about 8 or 9 damage. So that was a pretty strong attack. So his Optimus won't be soaking too many attacks. Your point for Optimus is just like a Scrapnel in the bug matchup. You want him to soak up the attacks while your other guys do the big damage. So he security checkpoints here. Security checkpoints me here and hits my entire hand. So that's a very devastating hit. It was annoying for me because throughout the whole day, my first 2 rounds anyway, I didn't have a upgrade flooded hand. And of course, again in this matchup, no. Yeah, but it is what it is. And it's just really. But so very good security checkpoint. And his Ironhide does the same to my Ironhide. He puts a Static Laser on his and he hits for a good amount of damage. Puts him in range for 1 Shall Stand, 1 Shall Fall. Puts my Ironhide in range for a Hot Rod flip. And then he can use combat commands to attack another character and then Hot Rod my Ironhide again, killing my Hot Rod, my Ironhide without attacking it, which is nice. And here I flip Sunstreaker back because I'm clearly in a drought for cards. So I try to steal a card out of his hand, try to slow him down as best I can. And then my Prowl goes in here. Bold 1, hit a white, so I'm hitting for 9. I keep slamming the table. Forgive me, I'm going to have to learn to stop doing that. Okay, so I put damage on Ironhide. Puts him in 1 Shall Stand range as well. So now his Prowl can run wild on any of my characters. Probably the ideal target. He might need to attack my Ironhide here, I would think, at first glance anyway, because my Ironhide would be able to stand and get another attack with the Static Laser, which he probably doesn't want, and I could probably KO any of his characters, possibly, with, you know, plus with I have my Hot Rod and Sunstreaker as options next turn. Okay, but he does have the one-shot stand. Now that I think about it, yeah, he did have it a couple turns ago. I saw it in his hand. So very good play for that in terms of possibly killing 2 bots in 1 turn. So gets rid of my Ironhide. That's unfortunate there. And gets a pretty strong attack. Yeah, he's hitting for 9 on my Prowl. Yep. So looking now, I'm probably going to have to lead with Optimus again and just hope he doesn't have another one-shot stand. I mean, I could send Prowl out, but Prowl is still my strongest attacker. So I'll probably, well, I guess I'll just talk about it as we go. I'm just thinking ahead. What did I do type deal. He has an even a spread amount of damage on his character, so it looks like his oh no, never mind. I was gonna say looks like his Ironhide is at 9, but no, it's not. I'm looking at Optimus with the 9. Okay, so I Sunstreaker and do draw another card to try to possibly get an action and an upgrade to play this turn. Looks like I have combat commands, and I think I drew. It looks like Peace Through Tyranny. That little smidgen. No, okay, or maybe it's double combat commands. So here I'm thinking of the best play to make. Yep, I do put it on Optimus and leave it Optimus because he probably still won't get KO'd on the first turn or on my next turn. So I Sunstreaker and draw another card to try to, you know, flip and give me some more options on my next turn. And attack and get a kill here. I want to definitely get that Ironhide out of here. Don't need him bashing Prime's face in with that static laser again. 7 bold 1 is very strong. This deck does a lot of medium damage. It doesn't need to do high amounts of damage. It's a aggro control deck, as you know, obviously know at this point. But just restating because I used to really try to hit for these, you know, ridiculous amounts of damage. But I realized after a while that this deck hits on the average from maybe 8 to you know, like 12. 14, depending on if you have like Reckless Charge, Grenade Launcher, and that's really all you need because then you're also controlling their hand. You're controlling, you know, the board with direct damage. This deck has like everything except for solid defense. But I mean, like, you know, it has everything that I think an orange deck wants, an orange control deck rather. It's not just super aggro, hit 20, and you know, with all this wasted damage, it does just enough what it needs to. That's why I like this deck a lot. And then of course I like this deck because you have extra plays every turn. Your characters in your KO pile literally give you, at the beginning of the game, you literally have a 7-card hand. Just think of it like that, which is very nice. Feels like I'm playing Magic up in this. All right, so yes, combat commands, press the advantage, and looks like another static laser. So no matter what he does, looks like he's going to have a solid action and upgrade this turn, which will put a hurting on my Prime. But I think I'm okay with that because, again, I don't necessarily care about Prime. Prowl and Ironhide do most of the work. Especially because I'm not trying to combine. This version I'm not trying to combine. Yeah, so okay, static laser here, and then he still lives, so it puts him at 8 damage, the Prowl. And this Prowl is going to put a hurting on my Prime. 8, 10, 12 looks like. I flip no blues. 12, so I take 10. Puts me at 13. Okay, I trade Peace Through Tyranny for Press the Advantage, looks like. Card I'm thinking about taking out is Matrix of Leadership, possibly even just maybe cutting it down to 1 for those like blue matchups, or you know, because I almost never want to equip it. Like usually when I have combat commands and Matrix of Leadership, it's almost always going to be combat commands. Matrix of Leadership, like I mentioned in the last video, will be good against blue decks because of that Pierce 1 and that spread damage, and plus the character, your Prime, the one that can, you know, since he's the leader, he since he spreads that +1 and Pierce 1 to the other 2 characters, that's very valuable throughout the game. And your Prime will definitely live throughout a couple turns, so your Matrix of Leadership will get continuous value. So I flip Hot Rod here. In my head, I'm thinking I'm okay because, you know, he still has to, he can only, unless he has direct damage. Direct damage is the only way he can kill both my bots and win this game. Otherwise, I can kill his Prowl here, and then next turn, whoever he doesn't kill, my other character will kill his Prime. So in my head, I'm just hoping that he doesn't have direct damage. Prowl gets a good sized amount of attack, and of course the Prowl is KO'd. But like I mentioned last turn, he has combat commands, press, and something else in his hand, and combat commands is exactly what he needed. He never flipped his hot rod. So here I was a little confused on what happened, but because it kind of went too fast for a second. But so he flipped the hot rod to deal 1 damage to my prime to put it at 14, and then he used prime to attack my prowl. And then he flipped combat. He used combat commands to flip Ironhide again to KO my prime, 15 damage. And then, of course, his 5 attack into my prowl is going to kill my prowl. So I don't even bother flipping my blue card or my blue cards. I don't bother flipping, hoping for blue cards, enough blue cards to survive that. With only 2 health left, that's going to be game. So we're going to move to game 2. I think I decided to go first again here. Because with the new rules roundup from the Transformers TCG, shout out to WOTC for all the Wave 3 spoilers. Can't wait to rebuild some new decks and improve the Sentinel deck and keep it moving. Definitely excited for the future of this TCG. But yeah, so I think I decided to go first again here, just so I can have him attack where I want him to attack and keep my prowl undamaged. It'll be damaged by time he mine attacks because his prowl will be able to attack my prowl, but I will already have had damage on his prowl, so it'll be easier to kill it when I finally go for it. Now I'm not gonna say it's necessarily hard to kill any of his bots and vice versa, because have a lot of powerful weapons and upgrades and actions to use every turn. But again, with us stripping each other's hand and things like that, I think I just want to get the early start. Not gonna say that's correct nor incorrect, but it's just my thought process, and so I continue with this mindset rather. So that was unfortunate for me. If he had, like I said, if he didn't have direct damage, he would only have been able to kill one of my bots, and then I would have killed his prowl that turn, and then on his next turn, he could only kill one of my bots, and then we stand, and then my prime or Ironhide, or whichever he didn't KO, would definitely KO his, because he didn't have that much damage on him. All right, so moving into game 2, I start with Sunstreaker this time. Really think I should have started with Mirage again. I don't know why I started with Mirage or Sunstreaker this time, but I did. All right, so Prime goes at Prowl again, gets a 1 extra damage this time around. Maybe my hand was lacking in terms of good cards in general to be able to play for the next turn. So I was hoping to possibly, I did a lot of test hands, and this is just like a thing. It's not necessarily anything about math or correct or anything like that. But I did a lot of test hands. Like when I would have a not so good hand opening turn, I would just test flipping with Sunstreaker and drawing a card. And a lot of times it would be something strong like Grenade Launcher or One Shot Stand, and that's literally just, it only makes sense in my head. So it's something that I would just I implemented here, possibly. It's the only thing I could think of, because I don't know why I wouldn't flip Mirage again, but I didn't, so. It just always happened to be my next card was a really good card. Okay, so he flips his Sunstreaker as well. So he mimics my move. Although he does has espionage in his hand, so I'm shocked he didn't. Although I have 5 cards in hand, flipping Mirage to see what kind of actions I have, and then taking away a possible upgrade or another action with espionage would be pretty ideal. But maybe he has another play in his head. Maybe he's fishing for security checkpoint because he knew how it really helped him win game 1. And then really just thinking about that, how close game 1 was. If he didn't have security checkpoint, I might have been fine. I had slingshots and stuff like that, So my thought process here is he's probably fishing for a security checkpoint to put that possible hurting on my hand again. Okay, so he still does espionage here. So it's not like he doesn't have he won't have options for the following turn to be able to use Mirage. So he calls orange, and I only have 1 orange in my hand. It's orange blue, and I had a Matrix, so I don't mind him taking that at all, because I don't plan on really equipping it unless it was the only upgrade in my hand and the only upgrade to play. That's the only time I'll play Matrix Leadership in these matchups. Otherwise, or unless if I had Static Laser and my last character only had 2 health left, that'd be the only time I wouldn't obviously equip Static Laser. So I flip Mirage here. See his hand. His hand is pretty bad. Looks like Grenade Launcher, 2 Peace Through Tyranny, and Security Checkpoint. I do know, just from knowledge of playing him in the past or seeing him play in the past, Mark makes very good use of Peace Through Tyranny, so I have to be careful. I would like to be careful. Okay, let me rephrase that. Okay, so I espionage here as well. I do the play I was just talking about him doing last turn. I mirage and take his security checkpoint, and I leave him with 2 Peace through Tyranny in his hand after I espionage. But yeah, Mark makes very aware use of Peace through Tyranny at the right time, and like, you know, turns where you can get 2 attacks in the stand and get another attack, you know, because you get to take another turn. So I had to be careful of that. But of course, he had 2 Peace through Tyranny, so there's no point in taking 1. And he doesn't play incoming transmission, so I guess that's good for me, quote unquote, because he can't stack 1. They're just kind of useless unless he trades them for a green, like he can here. So I slingshot, put 1 on Ironhide, kind of spread the damage around here a little bit. Because they're so fragile, spreading damage I think is good for future attacks. Because usually when you attack like Prowl or Ironhide, they're close to KO'd. And that might not necessarily be right. This is just my thought process. This is me talking to you about what I'm thinking about. Okay, so he mirages me here. Press the advantage and 1-shot stand. 2 pretty strong cards. Well, okay. I dropped the supercharge. So he takes my 1-shot stand. Press the advantage, just a weaker leap in the battle, in the mirror match, or in any matchup where you're not using the secondary effect to take a -2 defense off of a Decepticon. But hey, +2 is +2, so. And then how it's searchable. I think that's what's really hurting the Decepticons. Something I want to talk about for a second. It's essentially a reckless charge or a grenade launcher. You know, the +2 for you, the -2 for them, that 4 in total. That really hurts Decepticons. Like, that hurts King Starscream. It hurts a lot. So I think for Wave 3, I'm hoping. Well, actually, no, I'm not, because I don't like Decepticons anyway. Team Autobots. No, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. I love Autobots. But yeah, Decepticons need some help. They need some they have bad attitude, they have underhanded tactics, but those cards aren't as strong as Press the Advantage. Like, Press the Advantage is just kind of ridiculous and can really swing games in your favor, especially when you get multiple attacks on a Decepticon. They keep that -2 defense for the entire turn. So his turn is pretty isolated to just 1 action, because I knew he had 2 actions in his hand, and then he topped another action, so he was only able to play 1. Press the Advantage. Puts damage, looks like, on Ironhide. Pretty strong attack. It looks like 7-11. So unfortunate for me, and I'm aware, my Ironhide has only 1 health left. So his Hot Rod's going to make quick work of Ironhide. So he will not most likely be able to stand and get another battle. Here in this situation, again, you don't care about Prime. When you have another target, you usually want to attack the other targets. You're just like Scrapnel, your opponents want you to attack the Scrapnel. If Scrapnel / Prime in these matchups can continue to soak the damage, you're fine with that. Which is why I won't do that. So my Prowl, I think I'm debating here, looking at that supercharge, it's like, how high do I really need to get? Now, I'm aware that he plays double blues at this point too, so I have to take into account to that. I reflip Sunstreaker here to try to get some extra cards. Just because you have a flip every turn doesn't mean you need to flip them to their other mode. Like, you see how I didn't flip Hot Rod here to deal 1 damage. I would like to use that Hot Rod when it really matters, you know, to get it close to KO'd or KO in general. Because if the bot has, let's say one of his bots have 1 damage left. Okay, I do kill the Prowl here. Let's say one of his bots have 1 health left, and I already flipped my Hot Rod just because I could on my turn I just passed. Then now on my next turn, unless I have combat commands, I have to reflip the Hot Rod back and then pass to him, which he can use that bot to attack again, because he knows it's about to get destroyed by a Hot Rod the next turn. So it took me 2 extra turns, and he got another attack use out of that, you know, bot. So here I'm just gonna kind of like set the trap, and if I can get one of his bots at 1 health left, then the Hot Rod will just kill it with no problem right then and there. Like I said, unless you had combat commands and you future planned like that. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I can like type that out in the comments down below. Comment if you have any questions about this matchup, or about things I did, or about things Mark did. And okay, yeah, so he does just like what I was just talking about. He flips the Hot Rod there and KOs my Ironhide. It's so nice to have that direct damage, like just that extra added direct damage. You know, Hot Rod being a zap. I already talked about in the previous video how I thought Zap was so bad when I first started the game, and now I understand why these cards are good. Because wasting attacks is not ideal unless you sincerely have to. And with this deck, besides Prime, Prowl and Ironhide attacking a bot with 1 health is definitely wasted. Okay, so he reckless charges here and goes for a pretty big attack on my Prowl, I'm pretty sure. But he only hits 1, well, he hits a double orange, so but my Prowl actually lives. So me being aware of that, I think I have to send Prowl out there, because if I send Prime in this situation, if he has combat commands or he tops one shall stand, one shall fall, then my Prowl never gets to attack and I lose out in an attack. And losing an attack before your bot gets to attack, it's a lot of attacks in one sentence, is not ideal. All right, so I'm really thinking here. Flip Sunstreaker, give me some more options for my turn. Paying attention to his flips, all his bots in his scrap pile or in his KO pile are all flipped to their bot mode, so he'll need combat commands to do some reflipping here. Taking into account of all that. Okay, so I set up Prime here. And I think I still end up going in with Prowl, because I'm pretty sure my Prowl can still KO the Ironhide. Or I'm confident anyway, apparently. Because I don't think I attack with Prime here, but we'll see. Oh, I'm about to touch the Prowl, so yeah. I still have an action for this turn, so. Oh, I'm thinking should I really overdo it? See, I think I overthought it too much, but now I'm giving my Prowl bold 4 here to attack the Ironhide to ensure that I kill it. Well, hopefully ensure that I kill it, but that's a pretty strong attack. Flip the orange on every single flip. So 2, 5, 7, 12. I definitely get there. Again, because he's playing double blues, it throws me off in terms of my calculations and if I need the extra damage. Now, he flipped no blues there, so if I didn't use the supercharge, I still would have KO'd the Ironhide, but we don't know that, of course. We don't know what he's going to flip. We don't know what I'm going to flip. So, do play a good bit of, I did play the one-shot stands and things like that, so it could have whiffed pretty bad, but it worked out. So here, again, I'm hoping even if he had combat commands, here, what'll happen is his Prime would attack into my Prowl, and if he were to flip the Hot Rod and kill my Prowl, he can't redirect his attack to Prime. So if he does kill my Prowl, he wouldn't. He would just, okay, so he flips Prowl here and kill my weapon. That's something I did not think about. I didn't take that into account. Again, this is my first mirror match. I shouldn't have equipped that Noble's Blaster. I think I possibly had a combat commands in my hand, so I could have the Noble Blaster and the combat commands on Optimus in the same turn. So that's why I activated an upgrade on a character I didn't attack with that turn, But yeah, that's something I did not take into account with the, no, never mind. Don't mind me. All right, so Espionage, because I'm probably not going to kill his Prime this turn, so I want to kind of possibly limit his options. He has 2 pretty good cards here. Static Laser gives him +3 permanently, but then he takes 2 damage. So here I'm thinking, well, you probably still won't even kill me on your next turn, even with the Static Laser, because his options are limited. So let's see what I end up taking here. I don't think either option are incorrect, but okay, I end up still taking a Static Laser because overall it is 1 extra damage and it won't, it won't be stay permanently. But here, see, the fact that I'm out of this, the fact that I have more health than his bot does, and I'm also getting in some damage before he does, it's a big deal. But he hit some pretty solid double blues here, so he's at 5, and I think I only hit him for 1. So that was very unfortunate for me for all the blues that he flipped on his defense flips. He's deciding if he wants to get Noble's Blaster here. +2 is +2, but this +2 will be a permanent +2, so probably gonna get it. Okay, so it's down to the wire here. We both stand, and it's his turn. He draws. Let's see what he's working with. Okay, so it looks like he has Espionage and Noble's Blaster in his hand. Most clear play is to play the Noble's Blaster, and of course I have no cards in hand, so the Espionage is dead this turn. and probably going to be dead every turn after this because we don't have many turns left each, and every card I get I'm probably going to play, you know, if I can, as long as it's not an improvised shield or Peace Through Tyranny. So it looks like here he's debating on who to reflip to set up for his following turn. Okay, so he decides to reflip the Hot Rod to get my Prime closer to KO. So I don't think there's anything else left to do here but for him to attack. But we're still thinking. Don't think you can play Espionage if your opponent has no cards in hand. Okay, so he finally attacks and flips no oranges on his attack, so he's coming at me for 6. I have 2 defense, so I take 4. Pretty good on my part that he flipped no oranges. He flipped the one-shot stand in a double blue. I flipped the one-shot stand in a double orange. It's funny. Pretty sure it'd rather for him to have that the other way around this turn. Okay, so do some reshuffling here. Draw for my turn. Now, just looking at the field right now, the most obvious play is to flip Prowl to destroy his Nobles Blaster. So that way he's still most likely not KO in my bot next turn. My Prime's in a pretty good position. He does have 8 damage on him, but he still has the 2 defense. So just like in his alt mode. So he has 1 more attack in this mode and then the same 2 defense. So looking pretty solid with that one extra attack. Okay. So I'm thinking pretty hard here. I do have a Hot Rod flip, but even with a Hot Rod flip, I'm probably not going to be able to destroy his Prime this turn. So I do flip the Prowl. I don't know what I drew, but clearly it's not something that can be played this turn, so I do go for an attack. Oh, okay. He had to reshuffle. He reshuffled his deck ahead of time because he only had 1 card left in his deck, but because I destroyed his Nobles Blaster that's relevant and goes to the graveyard and to be shuffled into the deck. So I get an attack here. It's a pretty strong attack. It hit 4 oranges, puts me at 9. He flips a double blue, good on his behalf. So, and he lives with 11 damage left on him. So this turn is do or die for him. He needs to deal. I have 7 health on my character and 2 defense. So he has to hit 9 total and me not flip any blues. Okay, so make that 8 total because he flipped his Hot Rod. Prime flips. Because since this is his last turn, he needs to go all out. Doesn't look like he has anything to any upgrades or anything in his hand. So on my end, I'm hoping he doesn't have grenade or anything. But I mean, ideally, if he had grenade or not, static laser would work here. If he had any of those cards, he would have just played it. And okay, so yeah, security checkpoint. He made the correct call. I guess either way, I guess he could have espionage and call orange technically, and still most likely hit my static laser, but. And I don't decide to equip the static laser last turn just in case he topped the grenade launcher or something, and putting that 2 damage on myself and me not killing his bot and him giving him more of an opportunity to kill mine would have been bad for me. So here I make a mistake, and shout out to Joe from Wrecking Rule. He points out that if you look at the field here, there's 3, 6, 9. There's 15 damage already on my bot, but it was actually 14 damage. I messed up with my counting. And we dispute that here after Joe points it out. And for whatever reason, I kind of blanked for a second and I put enough damage to KO the Prime, but that wasn't the case. I actually still live with 1 health, 1 or 2 health, something like that. I think. Yeah, okay, yeah, I live with 2 health left. And then obviously I attack. He only has 3 health left on his Prime, and that'll be enough to KO as we move into game 3. So he gets to decide who goes first here. I actually think he has me go first, and that's what I want. That's the strategy I've been going with. So see how this turns out for game 3. Going first allows you to slow your opponent down because with, possibly taking one of their actions out of their hand with Mirage. Game 2, I started with Sunstreaker. Let's see what I do here this game. I think right here, as you see my hand gestures, I'm explaining some plays about like reflipping, and it may or may not have mattered. I think I might have missed like a reflip to set up for the following turn on one turn, but I don't think it mattered too much. And if it did matter, luckily it didn't cost me. A lot of these games we play on the fly. A lot of us don't have time or are able to test throughout the week. I do have my girlfriend, thank goodness for her, that she still plays and try to get some games in. I will be doing some updated games with her then, because she hasn't really played Wave 2 as much due to our son. Shout out to her for being a great mother. Okay. So here I flip my Mirage and take his only action in his hand is one shall stand. So here I go back to my original tactic from game 1, trying to take an action from his hand. So it looks like unless he draws another action that's playable, he'll only be able to play an upgrade for his turn. He flips a double blue on his defense while I flip 3 oranges, put me at 7 to his 3 defense. So he takes 4. Prime finally got a solid hit, but he also struck right back and hit 2 blues on his defense. But 4 damage is pretty sizable on Prowl, so whenever he does get attacked, he'll probably be KO'd at this point. So it's a good start. But I expect him to clap back pretty hard, and might not even necessarily need to go as hard as into my Prime, because you don't really care about Prime. He's your damage soaker. Not that you don't care about him, but you put him out there to hold the fort while your Ironhide and Prowl clean up. So he drew a Reckless Charge here, so he did draw another action. So first things first, he's going to look at my hand, see what I'm working with. I just have 1 action, so if he has Security Checkpoint here, again, that'll be pretty devastating, just like it was game 1. Looking at his hand from here, as you can see, it doesn't look like he has it. Obviously, he would have had to have top decked into it. But even if he did do that, then he would have lost both his upgrades too. So I don't even know if he necessarily would have done that. So debating between that Noble's Blaster and Reckless Charge, what he should do. Again, probably not, I don't want to say the correct play, but probably don't have to worry about going. Okay, so he doesn't even bother using any of those. See, the handheld blast is actually relevant in this scenario. Now his Prowl has bold 2 instead of bold 1. So the double blues on defense to help you obviously on defending, and then being a very heavy orange deck, the bold 1 from the handheld blaster actually is relevant. So he gets a pretty decent, almost half health on my Prime already, excuse me. But he attacks with Prowl first, now that I just realized that. That's an interesting play. I expected him to attack with Prime, but he decides to attack with Prowl first. Knowing that he's not going to kill my Prime, again, that was an interesting play. But he's putting the Prowl out there so his other 2 bots are fresh and able to go at my Prime or Prowl or whoever I plan on attacking with this turn. So see what ends up happening here. So I flip Sunstreaker to draw another card, give me some more options, and I'm aware that he attacked with that Prowl because that's not the normal line of play. And excuse me, let me go all the way back and say I fibbed. I told a big fat lie. This is not my first mirror match. This is my first mirror match since the last Top Deck Games tournament when I played against Mr. I forgot his first name, but Silva. He top 4 the last event. You can see it on Vector Sigma's page. But with his Sentinel list that plays 0 Enigmas. And he went undefeated in that tournament. Shouts out to him. Okay, so I do equip Matrix Leadership here to spread the damage. Or spread the damage, spread the attack. So my Ironhide attacks here with 7, 8, 9 into his Prowl. And it should be enough to kill. He does flip a double blue, but it's not enough. And I do get the KO for Prowl. If I did have another weapon in hand, I could see me possibly playing in Matrix Leadership, although I did tell you that only time I would activate Matrix is if I have no other upgrades. But let's just say I did have another upgrade in my hand, or, I'm not activating it because it's not good in orange matchups. But anyway, I might have activated it up here because I might force him, want to bait him into attacking my prime. So, because my prowl has 6 bold 1 now versus that, 5 bold 1. But he's probably not too worried because his prime could just easily go attack my prime or Ironhide. And my prowl has to attack his prime. So, soak that damage just fine. So, it looks like he has a very healthy hand of actions and upgrades here. So, let's see what he ends up doing. Noble's Blaster and okay, so Reckless Charge. Even with 3 less health, he's looking like he's going for the KO here on my prime. Pretty big attacks, 10, 13. And I flip no blues, and he does get the KO on my prime. But I'm fine with that in my head because my prowl and my Ironhide, my 2 most important attackers, are still alive. I have both of my strongest attackers. He only has 1 of his. And his prime doesn't hit hard enough, so I'm not necessarily worried about prime. Those 6 is very respectable, but he doesn't have the bold 1, and he's just not as scary. And when he attacks, obviously defending, you just do your thing. So incoming transmission for the first time this entire match. I think it's pretty simple and pretty. Well, I maybe don't have a double orange in my hand. Okay, because normally when you draw 2, as soon as you stack a card, like a millisecond afterwards, usually it's your opponent normally knows it's a double orange. So I ponder here. I do end up flipping Hot Rod this turn. I did mention earlier that it's nice to be ideal to flip Hot Rod to possibly kill a bot or put it closer to killing it, like if you're definitely going for a kill shot. But here in this situation, I'm probably not going to kill his prime, even if I did put the 1 damage on Hot Rod. I need Reckless Charge, Grenade Launcher, or Static Laser Supercharge. One of those combinations of very powerful cards to potentially boost my attack very high in order to kill the prime this turn. But I don't think even if I could, I wouldn't go super hard into his prime this turn anyway, because I don't necessarily care about prime. So Ironhide and Prowl are the ones that clean up. But I am thinking here, I did end up flipping the Hot Rod anyway. I flipped it, then didn't flip it, then I flipped it again, then I put the 1 on Ironhide because he's the one I'm looking to KO. Okay, so I do have Grenade Launcher, but again, I don't care about killing Prime, but I want to put him in that range of dying pretty soon. But that's a pretty strong attack. So 13, he flips no blues, he takes 11 or 12, 11 or 12. I think here I paused for a second and the dice just looked weird to me for a second. Normally, if you have enough damage, you put the maximum on a 6 and then you put the maximum damage on 1 dice. But get it figured out here. I think I was overly excited to the fact I was like, hey, his prime is at 1 damage, so my Hot Rod reflip can just kill it. Maybe I had a combat commands in my hand, and I think I just kind of like started thinking future tense. As soon as I noticed it, I had to just make sure I was looking at it correctly. Like, is that prime really at 14? Yes, he is. So I think that's why he ended up changing the dice up. Okay, so see, I do have combat commands here. He calls orange, and the only orange I have in my hand is Static Laser or Ironhide. So the slingshot. Oh, and I also had slingshot in my hand too. So I think the slingshot is what I was really happy for because I don't have to reflip Ironhide. And now I have the option. I can do what he did to me game 1 and equip the combat commands and attack his Ironhide and then kill his prime, or I can just activate the slingshot and just kill the prime. Either way. So he gets a pretty sizable attack on my prowl, but he does not kill it. I was thinking about trading. It didn't really matter what I traded here because both options will kill the prime, and it sets me up for really nice kill and attack on the Ironhide here. So here I have to be careful. I think just looking at the field, it would be smarter to send the prime in or the prowl in. But either way, because I'm thinking about 1 shall stay and 1 shall fall. But either way, even if the prowl didn't attack and I attacked with my Ironhide, even if he had 1 shall stay and 1 shall fall, his bot would be really close to being KO'd. If not KO'd after my Ironhide attack. But I decided to send the prowl out here anyway. I flip-flop. Okay. Flip-flop combat commands for Hot Rod and do kill his prime, and then get a pretty nice attack into his Ironhide. And as you can see, towards the end of the game, it looks like my Ironhide is fully undamaged. And he has 1 turn to possibly kill both of my bots. So 1 shall stand is not an out here. So looks like I'm able to take it at first glance. You never know. 3 upgrades, treasure hunt. I think it's the first treasure hunt all match. All right, so combat commands. So at this point, he's just looking to see if any of his flips will help him, but they won't. Again, one shot stand won't work here because he'll also KO himself. Hot Rod can only deal 1 damage, and even with a combat commands flip, he won't be able to still. Even if he killed my Prowl, again, he can't redirect his attack to Ironhide. But he decides to play it out, so it's all good. Respect. His Ironhide will definitely kill my Prowl. He puts 1 damage on my Ironhide. I have 2 defense, but my Prowl still KO'd anyway. And of course, here on this next turn, my Ironhide will be able to take care of his Ironhide, and thus I win the match. Be looking forward to my round 4 game. It's another Sentinel mirror match versus Dan Arnold. It should be posted on their page because it was recorded by them. And my round 5, I will be posting versus John Palmer and his Insecticons here in the coming days. So be expecting that soon. Thank you guys for watching. I will catch you guys in my next video.